Hello, and thanks for joining us on The World Now. Let's begin in the U.S., where the rift between U.S. President Donald Trump and tech billionaire Elon Musk has erupted into public view, with the pair trading insults online. The sparring started with President Trump saying he was disappointed with the Musk criticisms of his signature spending bill, with Elon Musk then accusing the president of ingratitude. Musk companies, including Tesla, SpaceX, and Starlink, have direct contracts with the U.S. government. However, he walked back from an earlier threat to decommission a crucial SpaceX spacecraft used by U.S. astronauts.
Elon and I had a great relationship. I don't know if we're well anymore. I was surprised because you were here. Everybody in this room practically was here as we had a wonderful send-off. He said wonderful things about me. You couldn't have nicer. Said the best things. He's worn the hat. Trump was right about everything. And I am right about the great, big, beautiful bill. We call it a great, big, beautiful bill because that's what it is. And again, biggest tax cuts in history, biggest economic development moves anywhere. We've never done anything like it. Business is spurred.
For more on this, global affairs analyst Kunle Falowo joins me from Indianapolis, U.S. Good to have you join us, Kunle.
Thanks for having me.
So the latest, just to let my viewer know, is that President Trump has now said he's going to sell his Tesla. And then there is no scheduled conversation between both men today, as earlier speculated in the media. But what we're witnessing now seems like a stark end to a close alliance. First, tell us how Americans are reacting to this.
Well, first of all, as an observer, as a political observer, I'm not surprised. And part of the reason is because in international politics, everything seems fair. And let's not forget that there aren't any permanent friends. There are only permanent interests. And it goes across the board. Having said that, majority of Americans have been very divided when it comes to Elon and President Trump. And I would also say that since the public embrace of Elon Musk and President Trump, there's been some significant change and perception change about the relationship, including the business side of Mr. Elon. You would see that about 20%, he lost about 20% of the overall shares for his company since his his public support for Mr. Trump, and there's so much international outcry and public condemnation of some of the policies that he has supported while he was supporting Mr. Trump, and be that as it may, it's not surprising. There's so much fallout, and interestingly, I wouldn't be surprised if there is another meetup or another scheduled meeting to bury the hatchet eventually. So at the end of the day, the hallmark or the core supporters of President Trump, including the Republican Party and the people that forms the overall party, or seems to be in support of the big beautiful bill, which is what the president is touting. And to be honest, that's all that matters.
We're talking about a president who really doesn't care so much for relationships, as it were. He's a president who changed his chief of staff multiple times in his first tenure. Does it also seem like Elon Musk did not understand his boundaries and thought perhaps it was indispensable?
We're talking about someone who has access to billions and billions of dollars, and we're also looking at leverage. Mr. Elon had intentionally put out over $250 billion, which he has also touted in his social media platform, formerly Twitter, that he was among those that came out to support the president, and without him, he wouldn't have, he wouldn't be elected. For him to have said that, and that's, by the way, that's the announced amount that he had said that he had contributed to the campaign of Mr. Trump. Having said that, during the inaugural and the preliminary process of President Trump, you would see that Elon was very visible at the White House. He took the opportunity. He actually seized the opportunity. He met with a lot of international dignitaries from all over the world and made connects and made contact. And he's talking with the um, most powerful man in the world, and he's one of the you know most powerful billionaires in the world. So that is a perfect match, So he had leveraged on all of this, and to say that he doesn't know when to call it quit, I think that's a understatement of the capabilities and the planning that goes into this kinds of relationship. But at the end of the day, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a makeup eventually. But as it is, there's a love lost, and only time will tell how this is going to play out.
And we'll get to the part of whether they will make up or not, but both men are very fierce fighters. They have a shared affinity for using social media to attack perceived enemies. Who has the most to lose in this feud?
It's definitely Mr. Elon. He's sitting, he's a businessman at the end of the day. He's back to taking care of his own business. But the thing is, he's got a huge contract with the U.S. government, and and I would also say part of the rancor or disagreements that Mr. Elon has with President Trump is the big beautiful bill, which he said that there's he has increased the debt ceiling of the United States, which really he wasn't in full support of. Having said that, Mr. Trump had come out to say that Elon was not happy or upset because they weren't some subsidy for EVs manufactured in America, and who would benefit hugely or tremendously from that bill if the EV uh, assistance was included, which, by the way, would run to billions and billions of dollars in the budget. It would be Elon because he's one of the his company is one of the only company that manufactures EV vehicles in America. So, as it is, there seems to be some kind of disagreement, but at the end of the day, um, when interest needs to be aligned one more time, they will look for a way to have this conversation again.
So I get that you said Elon has a lot to lose because his money is directly tied to this, but let's look at the political angle of it. Musk has hit very hard at the heart of Trump's agenda earlier this week. Like you already mentioned, he targeted what Trump had called the big, beautiful bill. But we understand that this particular feud has also amplified a rift within the Republican Party. What does this mean then for the prospect of the bill in the Senate?
Like I said, the core fans and the core supporters of President Trump has not in any time shifted grounds. They're in full support of the president and the big beautiful bill. So honestly, Elon's rift or disagreement with the increase in the debt ceiling of the United States and other disagreement that he has with the bill, he's quite irrelevant as it is because he's not an elected member of the House of Representatives or the Senate, and he might use his financial prowess to influence some elections. But as it is, the core supporters of President Trump are there to support, and they've also indicated that they're not going anywhere. They're 100% full support of the president's bill. So, as we speak, that's all that matters.
Musk is a major donor for the Republican Party. His platform X is now more like a Republican platform. It is how they communicate. If this feud were to prolong, because it looks like both men at the moment are not interested in making up. Trump has referred to him, use the past tense in speaking about Musk. If this feud were to prolong, could it make it harder for Republicans to keep control of Congress? Next year's midterm.
Well, in as much as we feel like Mr. Elon had contributed immensely to the campaign of Mr. President, and not just President Trump, the Republican Party, the Republican base, as it were, Elon is not the only person that supports the president or the Republican agenda. There are tons and tons of corporations and wealthy individuals, I must say, that are in support. They might not be very visible or very vocal when it comes to political issues or issues of interest. But there is so many more organizations, um, government agencies, and corporate individuals and companies and entities and rich individuals that be willing and more than willing to cover for whatever it is that Mr. Musk is unwilling to do financially for the Republican Party or for the president.
Kunle, just before that break, you were talking about how there are dozens of donors who could make up for what Elon Musk takes off the table. But we're talking about the wealthiest man in the world. How many organizations would you need? Would you need to make up for what he brings to the table? I mean, don't you think that there are some Republicans who would be asking the president to make up, especially because the midterm, while it looks so far off, but it's also around the corner?
Two things. So, if you recall, there were a lot of companies, entities that came together to put some money together for the president and the Republican Party as well. But I would also state that so long that the Republican Party holds power or it's in power, finances and financial obligations and donations would not come short for them, because we're talking about policies and influence here, and so many organizations or private entities are closely looking in, and they're all willing and more than able to go in and support whichever way they can, financially most especially. They'll be more than willing to do it, because at the end of the day, they will be benefiting hugely, tremendously from it. So that wouldn't be a problem for the president or the Republican Party.
There are lots of things to watch out for. I will continue to monitor this development, how the impact of this. Trump has said he's going to sell his Tesla, how that impacts on Musk's business, and then also how the other wealthy men react to all of this. Thank you so much for your time, as always. Kunle Falowo, Global Affairs Analyst.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.